The person roaring loudest in a meeting room is not always the one who holds the power of life and death, just as the most aggressive lion in a circus is in reality merely a slave providing entertainment for a scrawny trainer holding a leather whip. This world operates according to a peculiar order, where physical strength or superior skills often become labor tools for those who are physically weak but devious in their schemes. Why do mighty tigers obediently jump through hoops of fire, while cunning wolves contentedly hunt, only to offer the prey to others? The answer lies in the art of borrowing strength, a brutal psychological game where the one without claws is the one holding the reins, deciding the fate of the entire forest. Life is inherently ironic, because those with talent are often prone to arrogance, and those with strength usually rely on their fists. That very outsized ego becomes a noose that tightens around their necks before they even realize it. The one standing in the shadows observing understands this very well. There is no need to personally sweat or bleed. By simply grasping the weaknesses of greed and vanity, anyone can be turned into a pawn. Do not look at the glitz on the surface, but look at the flow of interests silently circulating beneath, as that is the true lifeblood that sustains this society. A person starting with nothing who wants to build an empire never begins by carrying every brick themselves. They begin by painting a vision large enough to entice those who have bricks and strength to come and build it for them. The essence of borrowing strength does not lie in crude deception, but in the ability to construct an illusory matrix of mutual benefit. A tiger will never serve a fox if it knows it is being used, but it will dive headfirst into the fire if it believes that act affirms its status as the king of the forest. A masterful controller is one who knows how to inflate the opponent's ego to the clouds, making the victim intoxicated by a phantom victory while forgetting they are plowing someone else's field. A well-timed compliment possesses more destructive power than 1,000 knives, as it paralyzes defenses and turns the most aggressive individuals as docile as young lambs. In the fierce chessboard of human resources or the marketplace, the most terrifying skill is not technical expertise, but the skill of instigating conflict. A clawless person wanting to destroy a stronger opponent will never be foolish enough to charge out and challenge them. Instead, they will find another hungry wolf and point toward the opponent, killing with a borrowed knife, letting two powerful entities slaughter each other while one leisurely stands on the sidelines to pick up the spoils from both corpses. That is the pinnacle of calculated cruelty. When two tigers fight over a piece of meat, the real hunter is not one of those tigers, but the one who threw the meat between them. Look at the struggles in the workplace, where endless dramas unfold every day. Those who argue loudly, fighting over who is right or wrong, are usually the first to perish or will forever remain stagnant as mere grunts. Meanwhile, the one who silently stands in the middle, whispering to one person now and comforting another, then skillfully adding fuel to the fire while wearing the face of a peace envoy, is the one who ultimately sits in the vacant management chair. They borrow the crowd's outrage to topple an old boss, borrow the authority of a high-ranking executive to punish colleagues, and borrow the collective effort to beautify their personal resume. Without shedding a drop of sweat or creating direct animosity, they glide upon the waves of conflict that others have created. This mechanism functions smoothly because humans are always governed by two primal emotions, fear and greed. A master of leverage is an expert at manipulating these two extremes. To control a wolf, show it a juicy bait, but hang it just out of reach, close enough for it to crave, but far enough that it must run continuously in the direction you desire. That bait could be money, a title, or simply a promise of a brilliant future. The wolf keeps running, hunting, and bringing back spoils, believing that one day the bait will be its own, never realizing it is pulling the carriage for the one sitting behind holding the fishing rod. As for the tiger, the creature representing strength and authority, what binds it is not mere food, but honor and veneration. A wise person will never compete for the spotlight with a tiger. They are willing to step back, crowning the tiger as the leader and the pioneer who bears every arrow and bullet. When glory comes, the tiger holds its head high and roars. But when failure strikes, the tiger is also the first to be offered as a scapegoat. The one behind the velvet curtain has borrowed the tiger's prestige to deter enemies, borrowed the tiger's strength to quell chaos, and finally borrowed the tiger's own failure to replace it with a more obedient new pawn. Such is the cruelty of the law of survival, where glory is merely a glittering cloak draped over the shoulders of those meant for sacrifice. The danger of this art lies in its invisibility. Victims often never realize they are being manipulated until everything is settled. The threads of interest are woven intricately, but hidden beneath the veneer of kinship, cooperation, and loyalty. A friendly pat on the back is sometimes a way to check which spot is most convenient to plant a knife. A piece of sincere advice is sometimes a poison that lures the opponent into a dead end. In the world of those who borrow strength, there are no permanent friends and no permanent enemies, only tools that are either functioning well or have outlived their usefulness. Looking broadly at society, large corporations swallow small companies not by competing through products, but by borrowing investors' capital, borrowing state policies, and borrowing media pressure. They create artificial crises to suppress an opponent's value, then play the hero who comes to the rescue and acquires them at a pittance. They do not produce anything specific as they trade in trust and expectation. They borrow money from one person to pay another, building castles on sand, yet making the whole world believe they are the sturdiest fortresses. By the time the bubble bursts, the seasoned old wolves have already retreated safely, leaving the bewildered crowd to bear the consequences. Never be naive enough to believe that effort and sincerity will always be justly rewarded. That is a fairy tale to lull weak souls to sleep. The naked reality is that a person's value does not lie in how much they can do, but in how much leverage they can create through others. A skilled engineer can make a good product, but a master of leverage will hire that engineer, hire a salesperson, and hire a manager to own the entire value chain without needing to know how to write a single line of code. They borrow the intellect of others to enrich themselves and borrow the time of others to build their own dreams. To escape the fate of being a pawn, a circus tiger, or a hired hunting wolf, the first step is learning to see through those invisible strings. One must learn to ask why when a lucrative opportunity suddenly falls into their lap. Why is that person being so kind to me? Why do they want me to confront someone else? Only when we see the true motive behind the smiles can we begin to learn how to cut the strings, or even better, how to follow those strings to climb to the position of the controller. But one must also admit a bitter truth. To become a successful master of leverage, one must accept the trade-off of a portion of their humanity. One must learn to be cold in the face of others' pain, be ruthless when necessary, and most importantly, know how to hide oneself. The one who flaunts their strength is the first to die, while the one who hides their claws and fangs is the ultimate survivor. Look at water, as it is soft and formless, yet it can borrow the wind's strength to become a tsunami, or borrow the land's terrain to become a torrential waterfall that sweeps away all obstacles. Water never fights strength with strength against a rock. It flows around it, eroding it gradually, or borrows its own weight to crush the rock into dust. In the power game of life, the supreme position is not reserved for the strongest, but for the one who knows how to position themselves at the center of the flows of interest. They turn themselves into the center of the universe, where all resources are drawn in and revolve around them. They do not need to be the best. They only need to be the one who connects the best people together and stands on their shoulders. They turn others' conflicts into their opportunities and others' ambitions into fuel for their machine. It is a dark but seductive art, where the boundary between genius and fraud becomes thinner than ever. Finally, when the velvet curtain closes and the audience leaves, the tiger returns to its iron cage, and the wolf licks its wounds in the dark. Only the trainer counts the money and smiles. He understands that in this concrete jungle, claws and fangs are merely ornaments, while the brain that knows how to borrow strength is the ultimate weapon. Do not strive to sharpen your claws to become a lonely predator. Learn how to hold the whip, or at the very least, learn to recognize who is holding the whip so you do not become the beast in someone else's circus. Life is a banquet. If you are not the diner holding the knife and fork, you will certainly be the dish on the plate. The choice lies in the ability to see through and apply these cruel but ever-present laws.